My name is Martin Russell, and I am, curious title, the Representative Deputy Lieutenant for the London Borough of Barnet. I am a Deputy Lieutenant of Greater London. Well, my background, I'm a North London boy. I was born in Hampstead and moved to Mill Hill when I was 2 in 1954, and I've lived hereabouts ever since. And I suppose what led me to the position was having served in the army, both in the regular army and the reserve army. And the lieutenancy, which is what it's called, is much to do with matters military. That was our historic role. So I suspect that I was appointed by reference to the fact that I'd been in the armed forces and that I've been involved with voluntary organisations within the Borough of Barnet for quite a long time. In the main, my responsibilities are to do with the royal family, to represent the interests that the royal family have, to represent them locally. So those would be the armed forces, and they would be the church and faith groups and voluntary organisations of which the Queen or other members of the royal family are patrons or associated. To receive members of the royal family when they come to the borough and make sure that the visit is successful and safe in conjunction with the police. And then to do what other things are necessary, in the words of the law, to uphold the dignity of the monarch. Well, Barnet is quite a large place. I mean, I think it's London's third or fourth largest borough geographically, and certainly its largest borough by population. When I started in Mill Hill in 1954, it was part of the borough of Hendon. Barnet didn't exist. So I suppose I've got to know the borough geographically very much better. I know the organisations in the borough. Part of my work is to maintain records of everybody that I meet so that I can comment on them and their role when required. I mean, an example of that would be if somebody is nominated for a national honour or an award, then I'm expected to give local colour, to add local colour to that nomination. So I prepare and retain large spreadsheets of names and identify what associations I have with those people, which organisations they belong to, who they support, and that sort of thing, so that I can comment quickly and accurately. Well, let's start with my impact on the community. I think it's for the community to say, really. Although I've held this public office for longer than any of my predecessors, so continuity is one thing. Unlike the mayor, who's the senior citizen in the borough, I'm not elected, I'm appointed. I'm not subject to re-election, therefore, every 4 or 5 years. And I have no political involvement, so I'm completely impartial. And I think people look to me, or look at my office anyway, to be an ongoing presence, to be the representative of the monarch in this part, and they see me in a role where either I nominate people for recognition or am proud to present them with medals or with awards as the opportunity presents itself. I work closely with the faith groups, all faith groups. And I think, again, I hope I'm seen as an honest individual and an impartial individual to whom faith leaders can talk. And I have a certain amount of influence by virtue of my office. So if there's a problem, I can talk to the bishop or I can talk to the chief rabbi. And there are ways of getting things done. So actually, it's a very useful role. I think I see in the borough a reassuring willingness to volunteer, a generosity of spirit among many people, and I see goodwill in some quarters which, Barnet's a wealthy borough, but there are some parts of the borough which are distinctly not wealthy, you could say even impoverished. And I try to concentrate on those parts of the borough to the best of my ability, but even there I see astonishing effort by committed, dedicated, loyal people to try to improve the lot of others. So in the main, I'm impressed with the way people behave in Barnet. The borough's grown terrifically in the time that I've been in office, from 300,000 to now over 400,000 people. Many new homes, much green land, changed. But still, it's a borough where standards are high, academically, educationally, and I think socially. So what do I think about the people? How have they changed my view on the borough? The work of volunteers right across the social spectrum, the work of the faith groups, and the benign work of the council, doing its best in challenging circumstances. All of those things and many others continue to impress me. Well, it's the most incredible honour, and it comes as a shock and a surprise. The role might benefit being explained a bit more. Since the days of Henry VIII, every county has had a Lord Lieutenant, and that person is very senior and very busy. London, growing as it has since the war, in population terms rapidly, it was felt in 1950 or 51 that the Lord Lieutenant couldn't possibly know everybody across the whole of London. So Lord Allenbrook, then Field Marshal, appointed somebody, one of his deputy lieutenants, to represent him in each of the boroughs. That's why we're called representative deputy lieutenants. And to that end, I have most of the Lord Lieutenant's power within the borough of Barnet. I have neighbours, equivalent people in the neighbouring boroughs, and I work very closely with them. I think it is a terrific privilege to wear this uniform. It's a senior officer's uniform. People frequently ask me, where's my horse? Sometimes I have to wear spurs with this uniform, but not today. But it's a general officer's uniform, which reflects the rank and the seniority of the appointment. But I'm acutely aware that while it is a privilege, I'm only as good as my last outing. So if I fail to pay attention to people, if I don't do enough research about the organisation that I'm going to see, then I do less than justice to them, and I don't think that's what the Queen would do. So I spend a lot of time researching, and then a lot of time writing letters and keeping notes after meetings, so that I'm better placed to A, remember, and B, do justice to that organisation on a future occasion. Well, the Platinum Jubilee is terribly exciting. 10 years ago, I worked really very hard with a number of other people to help organise the Diamond Jubilee, little expecting that we'd be blessed with another Jubilee 10 years later. I shall be marking it at home with my family, to the extent that I'm not involved in public duties around the borough. And I shall be very active. On the Thursday, we have a number of events around the borough, which will be culminating with a large family fun day at Golders Hill Park in conjunction with the City of London Corporation, ending in a firework display with beacons being lit. I think there are going to be 4 other beacons lit throughout the borough. There were only 4 in total 10 years ago, so it's a 25% increase, which is pleasing. The other beacons will be at Monk and Hadley Church, an ancient beacon there. At Colindale, where the council are going to light a beacon. At Saracens, where the rugby club are going to do a laser beacon, which is a new thing. And the Scouts will light a beacon at their campsite at Frith Grange. So that's a busy day. And then thereafter, we have street parties later in the weekend. And the celebrations locally end with a service of Thanksgiving for the monarch's reign at Hendon Parish Church, St Mary at Hendon, when all the council will be invited. It's a civic service, so it'll be the mayor as well as me. Inevitably, a highlight is personal interactions with the Queen, and those are more precious now as they become rarer and rarer. But meeting any member of the royal family, I have very fond memories of receiving the Duke of Edinburgh in Hendon and elsewhere, And, you know, he was, as you'd expect, full of banter, always quick with the response, sometimes rather challenging in some of the things that he said, but most impressive person. And, you know, regular dealings with the Prince of Wales and his wife, which is a great privilege, as well as the other members of the royal family. But I think those are one sort of highlight. I think other highlights are being able to work to introduce change in certain areas or working towards the achievement of a particular objective. And in my broader role as the Deputy Lieutenant, I take on patronages or become president of various organisations. I've worked for 15 years with Home Start, Barnet, as its patron. And I think I draw particular pleasure from the way that organisation has flourished, not under my management, because I'm not hands-on, but I have been able to highlight its work, and I hope give confidence and support to its volunteers on whom the organisation depends. So it could be something like Home Start, it could be the Scouts. I happen to be Vice President of Greater London North Scouts, 6,500 Scouts and leaders. Or President of Barnet Scouts, where we've got 1,500 Scouts and leaders and Cubs and so forth, helping them develop and grow. Something else of which I'm terribly proud are the trees we planted around the borough, which are surviving. Trees planted 10 years ago to mark the Diamond Jubilee are now nearly 40 feet tall in some places. So that's a big success and a lasting impact.